I've started to slip on my classes due to stress of just dealing with the next thing at school. I'm missing so much school for being suspended for using the women's restroom.
Alright guys, so in this episode of Stories You Should Never Hear, in what allegedly is the greatest country in the world, we got to talk about the ramifications of what the left is pushing for when it comes to this LGBTQ ideology, more specifically when we're talking about the transgender issue, in which the left told us that, hey, you are a bigot if you are opposed to certain things, like, for example, men and women using the same restroom together, same locker room together, or biological men competing against biological women in sports, right? You're a bigot, okay? How many times have we done videos where, you know, the left talks about all the anti-LGBTQ / hateful laws that are being passed by the GOP that simply is just designed to protect women, right? We want to protect biological women, girls. That's who we want to protect. That is where it's coming from, okay? It's not coming from a place of hate. It's not coming from a place of bigotry, right? Not being anti-trans, right? It comes from a place of common sense. And stories like this is why common sense is so important, because without common sense, girls end up suffering. They're losing their basic rights, including the right to privacy. And in this situation right here, unfortunately, that invasion of privacy resulted in them getting hurt. So I want to talk about that. But before I get in that, speaking of privacy, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, which should help all of you guys out with privacy. Virtual Shield. Our passwords, bank accounts, and personal data are more vulnerable to hackers than ever before. That's why hundreds of thousands of savvy internet users have turned to Virtual Shield VPN. Virtual Shield's VPN has exceptional speeds, a strict no-log policy, military-grade encryption, is US-based, and my personal recommendation for online privacy. And as you guys can see here, this is my current setup when I'm unprotected by Virtual Shield, okay? When I don't have my VPN turned on. It's very easy to turn on. All you gotta do is just click the connect button and it turns on, and voila, you're now protected, okay? You're on a virtual private network. Your IP address changes, okay? So now you are protected online when you are surfing. Now, for me personally, one of the most unique and cool benefits about using this VPN is when I'm traveling, my search results are not the same because I'm not in the same location as I am at home, right? So when I use a VPN, I like to connect to a place close to home. That way, my search results for Google and when I'm researching things are the same as they would be at home. And I find that to be very, very, very helpful when I'm trying to access certain local news stories that may not have access in certain locations or countries. So with that being said, you can avoid sporting event blackouts, access local websites which are blocked outside of state borders, watch television premieres before they show up in your time zone, stop hackers from seeing your keystrokes, passwords, and accessing your work file. Protect yourself now, starting with a free 60-day trial during Virtual Shield's New Year's special simply by going to virtualshield.com/BCP. Again, you can go to virtualshield.com/BCP. Get the fastest no-log VPN today, 78% off, lifetime discount. Start protecting yourself today. All right, so let's get into this story right here, which involves an Oklahoma transgender student who's been charged with assaulting female high school classmates in a bathroom, which again is a story you should never hear in a sane country, okay? However, we're not living in a sane country anymore because these people on the left believe that men and women should share spaces, including bathrooms together, right? Now, the interesting part about this story is that the governor of Oklahoma actually signed a law in May requiring students to use bathrooms and facilities that match their biological sex on their birth certificates. Now, it seems like this transgender student obviously didn't agree with that. They weren't going along with that, or they were allowed to use whatever bathroom they wanted to use, okay? The high school was not enforcing this law, which they should have been enforcing it, right? I think that's a key part of the story here. But what's interesting is that just a couple months ago, some woke high school students actually protested this law. They actually did a walkout in Oklahoma over this law. Take a look.
Two local high schools walked out of class today to protest the state's bathroom law. The high schoolers are angry about a recent punishment of a transgender teen. Thank you for joining us here tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm Jessica Schambach.
And I'm Zach Royale. KOCO's Elise Jones was outside those schools today. And Elise, what did the students tell you?
Well, students, former students, parents, and community members all came together today in support of a group of students protesting a bill they claim is unconstitutional. Two Norman high schools, Norman North and Norman High, protesting today, saying Senate Bill 615 has taken away basic human rights.
I'm tired of it. Everyone I know is tired of it.
It feels like people's rights are actively being stripped away after we were making so much progress. It's like really heartbreaking to watch it all go away.
Emery Jenkins, a transgender sophomore at Norman North, spoke out today about her story, saying she's been suspended for using the women's restroom. She says the stress of it all has taken a toll on her. Norman Public Schools told KOCO they are operating within the law, but they always strive to work directly with students and families to ensure their needs are met and they're able to thrive in school. Yet some students say the accommodations aren't realistic.
It enables discrimination, and also like the bathrooms that we have available to go to, like the gender neutral bathrooms, they're not equidistant from all of the classrooms. Like there are only one or two in the entire school.
I've started to slip on my classes due to stress of just dealing with the next thing at school. I'm missing so much school for being suspended for using the women's restroom.
Alumni, parents, adults, and community members came to support as well.
They need to know that people are here for them. They need to know that they have a place to confide in, even if the state doesn't accept them.
Yeah, all the more reasons why we should probably increase the voting age, right? I'm convinced, okay, these kids simply have no clue what the consequences are of the things that they advocate for, right? They have no clue whatsoever. The fact they even walk out over this is ridiculous, okay? Because it ends up in situations like the story that we're talking about here today, where you had two female students that were beat up by a transgender student, a male student, because again, they were allowed to use the female bathroom.
Two high school girls were just beaten up by a transgender girl in the women's restroom. The boy who beat them up was able to walk directly into the girls' restroom unobstructed by teachers or faculty or staff because he just identified as a girl. And no one wants to be labeled a transphobe these days, so they had to just let him walk right in. Once in the bathroom, he began fighting with the first female, who he knocked to the ground and began to kick her and punch her repeatedly while she was on the ground. Another student, recognizing that her friend was getting beaten up by a boy, tried to help, only to also find herself getting beat up. The two young women were badly beaten and bruised, their eyes swollen shut, possible concussions, and this is all made possible because of the radical trans ideology.
Yeah, so what you see there is a school, in my opinion, that is probably complicit, because again, I got questions about why in the world was the student allowed to use the female restroom. They probably was like, oh, we don't want to enforce it because we don't be called transphobic, right? Well, again, you're not following the law. You're not enforcing the law. And the non-enforcement of the law resulted in these two girls getting beat up. Now, allegedly, the police are saying that there was no official gender listed on the person's birth certificate, which I find to be strange, but a paternity affidavit claimed that the student is a male. The student had only been attending school for a few days, and that allegedly his gender was unknown to faculty and staff. This is what they're saying. I'm not sure if that's a cover-up or what, but regardless, it should have been clear what the student's sex was, or at the very least somebody should have asked, right? Somebody should have gotten this documentation to make sure that, okay, this person is using the right restroom or whatever, especially they're claiming to be trans, right? They're claiming to be trans. All that stuff should have been straightened out. Okay, all that stuff should have been straightened out. But it wasn't, okay? And if I was the father of these two girls, I would be pissed, right? I would be heated, okay? I would be seeking, again, to hold the school liable as well, too, because they're the ones that allowed this to happen. This happened under their watch. Also, furthermore, this is a prime example of how there is biological differences between boys and girls. Okay, this boy was able to basically beat up 2 girls at the same time, right? Even 2 girls couldn't beat up the transgender boy. Okay, I just find that to be, again, fascinating. Again, but all the more proof why men and women, or girls and boys, should not be in the same spaces, the same restrooms like this, and they also shouldn't compete against each other in contact sports, right? It's this stuff is common sense, right? It's very common sense. But when you lack common sense, when you throw common sense out the window like the left does, you end up with situations like this happening. Completely avoidable situations that just did not have to happen. They should not have had to happen. These girls should not have went through this. But again, because people are afraid, they're afraid of these people. They're afraid of, calling it like it is, telling it like it is. They're afraid of being called transphobes or bigots or whatever. Stuff like this happens. Innocent girls suffer the consequences. And these are the same people that tell you how they love women so much. We're pro women's rights, right? Not when it comes to the rights of a man who wants to be a woman, right? All of a sudden, women's rights goes out the window. You don't care about, feminism anymore. It's amazing how that works. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.